अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा शरद बिहारी की
जय।
श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा महारानी की
जय।
श्री श्री गौर निताय की
जय।
देवी तुलसी महारानी की
जय।
गौर भक्त वृंद की
जय।
All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone. We'll be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, the creation, text 9, chapter 9, the passing away of Bhishma Dev in the presence of Lord Krishna, and text 36. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Text 36. Vyavahita putana mukham niriksha swajana baddha vimukhasya dosa buddhya kumati maharadatma vidayadya yash charanarati paramasya tasya mestu vyavahita putana mukham Vyavahita prutana mukham niriksha swajana baddhad vimukhasya dosa buddhya kumatim aharad atma vidyaya yas charanarati paramasya tasya mestu vyavahita prutana mukham niriksha Swajana baddha vimukhasya dosa buddhya kumatim aharat atma vidyaya yas charanarati paramasya tasya mestu. Please recite.
Hare Krishna. Vyavahita prathana mukham niraksha swajana vadhat vimuksha dosha badhya kumatim arahad atma vidyaya yashah charanaratihi paramasya tasya mestu.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hare Krishna. Vyavahita pritamukam nirkya swajana vada vimukkasya dosa buddhya kamatim aharadatma vidyayas charanarati paramasya tasya mestu.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Go ahead, Mataji.
Vyavahita prutana mukham nirikshya swajana vadad vimukhasya dosha buddhaya kumati maharadatma vidaya yas charanati paramasya tasya mestu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Vyavahita pritana mukham nirakshya swajana vadhat vimukhasya dosha buddhya kumatim maharadatma vidyaya yas charanarati paramasya tasya mestu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Vyavahita pratana mukham nirikshya swajana vadhat vimukhasya dosha buddhaya kumati maharat atma vidyaya yas charanarati paramasya tasya mestu.
Hare Krishna. Vyavahita pritana mukham niriksha swajana vadha vimukhasya dosha buddhya kumate maharadatma विद्यायाश्चरणरते परमस्य तथ्यमेस्तु.
Hare Krishna. Yavahita pritana mukham nirikshaya swajana vadhad bhumak hasya dasha buddhiya kumatim aharad atma vidyaya yash charana ritihi paramasya tasya mestu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Anyone else want to do? So we go for synonyms.
Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Vyavahita pritana mukham niriksha swajana vyayida mukhasya sabodhya kumati maharda atma buddhayasa charati rati paramasyata samayastu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. So we'll do the word by word translation. Vyavahita, standing at a distance. Pratana, soldiers. Mukham, faces. Niriksha, by looking upon. Swajana, kinsman. Vadhat, from the act of dosa buddhya, by polluted intelligence. Kumatim, poor fund of knowledge. Ahorat, eradicated. Atma vidyaya, by transcendental knowledge. Yaha, he, who. Charana, to the feet. Ratihi, attraction. Paramasya, of the Supreme. Tasya, for him. Me, my. Astu, let there be. Translation purport by Divine Grace. Esi Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. This is Bhishma Dev is saying, when Arjuna was seemingly polluted by ignorance upon observing the soldiers and commanders before him on the battlefield, the Lord eradicated his ignorance by delivering transcendental knowledge. May his lotus feet always remain the object of my attraction. Purport. The kings and the commanders were to stand in the front of the fighting soldiers. That was the system of actual fighting. The kings and commanders were not so-called presidents or ministers of defense as they are today. They would not stay home while the poor soldiers or mercenaries were fighting face to face. This may be the regulation of modern democracy. But when actual monarchy was prevailing, the monarchs were not cowards elected without consideration of qualification. As it was evident from the battlefield of Kurukshetra, all the executive heads of both parties, like Drona, Bhishma, Arjuna, and Duryodhana, were not sleeping. All of them were actual participants in the fighting, which was selected to be executed at a place away from the civil residential quarters. This means that the innocent citizens were immune from all effects of fighting between the rival royal parties. The citizens had no business in seeing what was going on, what was going to happen during such fighting. They were to pay 1/4 of their income to the ruler, whether he be Arjuna or Duryodhana. All the commanders of the parties on the battlefield of Kurukshetra were standing face to face, and Arjuna saw them with great compassion and lamented that he was to kill his kinsmen on the battlefield for the sake of the empire. He was not at all afraid of the giant military phalanx presented by Duryodhana. But as a merciful devotee of the Lord, renunciation of worldly things was natural for him, and thus he decided not to fight for worldly possessions. But this was due to poor fund of knowledge, and therefore it is said here that his intelligence became polluted. His intelligence could not be polluted at any time because he was a devotee and constant companion of the Lord, as is clear in the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Apparently, Arjuna's intelligence became polluted because otherwise there would not have been a chance to deliver the teachings of Bhagavad Gita for the good of all polluted conditioned souls engaged in material bondage for the conception of the false material body. The Bhagavad Gita was delivered to the conditioned souls of the world to deliver them from the wrong conception of identifying the body with the soul and to re-establish the soul's eternal relation with the Supreme Lord. Atma Vidya, or transcendental knowledge of himself, was primarily spoken by the Lord for the benefit of all concerned in all parts of the universe. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschyata Desatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Sri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna. I would like to seek blessings from all the assembled Vaishnavas, senior Vaishnavas. So this is a very advanced subject matter. Sorry. Bhishma Dev, the Mahajana. He's Mahajana, and his departure from this world is being witnessed by so many great personalities from all over the universe. How such subject matter can be understood so easily or can be spoken. But with all of your blessings from senior Vaishnavas, I'll try to put my understanding on this. So here, Bhishma Dev is meditating. Bhishma Dev is meditating. When Arjuna was seemingly polluted by ignorance upon observing the soldiers and commanders before him on the battlefield, the Lord eradicated his ignorance by delivering transcendental knowledge. May his lotus feet always remain the object of my attraction. At the beginning, in this purport, Prabhupada interestingly puts the condition, he puts the scene, it used to happen and what happens now. On those days, the system was the commanders and kings, they are in front of the fighting, for the fighting. They were not back, they were not at home, they were not sleeping. They're actually leading the army because they were real Kshatriyas. And this morning when I was hearing Prabhupada's lecture, one of the lecture he was saying, the olden days, the fightings were not for, even religious fights. It is actually to protect the dharma, to make sure the religious principles are followed. So both it is the fight between religious and irreligious people. When irreligious people deviate from the path, mislead the citizens, now their goal is not to make citizens Krishna consciousness. So those are religious people, they used to fight. So it's not the fight for loading over the other country, the religious fight, rather to establish dharma. Dasa Parikshit Maharaj, he used to travel, make sure that religion is there everywhere. This morning, before the class, we were discussing, myself and Sobharade Mataji. The world is, chaos, chaotic situation everywhere. And all these predictions given in Srimad Bhagavatam is manifesting. Actually, in fact, Prabhupada was talking about in 1970s when he was giving the class. He says, wherever I go, there's so much of disturbance. 1970s, Prabhupada is saying, and we think that, wow, such a nice, peaceful environment everywhere, but Prabhupada 1970, he could observe that the disturbance everywhere, within, without, in every part of the continent. And now, after 50 years, we are sitting here and we also observe. I'm sure everyone is observing the situation. So what a devotee has to do? How can we, what is our duty in this? So in this very wonderful incident where Bhishma Dev is lying on the bed of arrows, what is the situation? Pain. If you remember this pastime, this prayer by Kulasekara, Kulasekara says, "Oh my Lord, when the last moment of my life, when I get old, when I get sick, I'll be filled with cough, mucus, and I will not be able to remember you." So he's praying, saying that, please help me, take me so that while I'm remembering you, when my body, I'm sound in my mind and body. Everything is there, no problem. Please help me. But now, how it's a contradictory situation, Bhishma Dev's situation. We cannot conceive how the whole body is pierced. We think that, okay, he's not suffering, right? Yes, as a material nature, it is going to work. As he says, 3 modes of nature will work. There'll be pain. However, Bhishma Dev, as Mahajana, shows through his example how we can transcend those pains and pleasures. Just 1 second. So I have to send my son to school. So he shows through his example how one can transcend. In that situation also, he had the ability to welcome, to receive all the great personalities. In that situation also, he had the ability to give lessons to Yudhishthira Maharaj. At the same time, in that situation also, he is able to, in sound health, he is able to remember fully without any difficulty the transcendental form and his activities of the Lord. This is what is called bhakti. This is what is Prabhupada given to us. I was remembering the incident took place between Bhrigu, was it Bhrigu? No, Durvasa and Lord Vishnu and Ambarish Maharaj. Because how Bhishma Dev has transcended all this from the pains and pleasures is a subject matter of meditation. We can contemplate a little bit the relation between the Lord and his devotees. It is when Durvasa Muni approached Lord Vishnu for his protection, he has taken panga. Panga means what do you call problems with Ambarish Maharaj. It's pure devotee, and after disturbing him, he is going to take shelter from the at the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. He said, Lord Vishnu said very clearly, listen, and Durvasa Muni, I'm helpless. I'm helpless. He says, Sadhava hridayam mahyam sadhanam hridayam tuham madanyate no jananti naham tebhyam anagapi. The Lord is saying, what is relation between my devotees and me? The pure devotee is always within the core of my heart. The pure devotee is always within the core of my heart. And I am also always in the core of my pure devotees. My devotees do not know anything else but me, and I do not know anything else by them. Even though externally they act in many ways in their different responsibilities. As considering the situation of Bhishma Dev, he fought against the Pandavas. He fought against Krishna. Okay, he's lying on the bed of Pharaohs, and it apparently appears like so much of difficulty, but he is aloof because he is always in the thoughts of Lord Krishna in his mind and heart. My devotees who are always satisfied to be engaged in my loving service are not interested even in the 4 principles of liberation. Salukya, Sarupya, Samipya, Sashti. So in one sense, when you have difficulty, generally we say, oh Lord, please save me from this difficult time. I'm suffering, right? That's what we will say. No, that's okay for us. But here, Bhishma Dev's prayer is not like that. You remember this few verses. Not even any prayer he thought, oh Lord, relieve me from this. Well, everybody is in their different position. We can ask the Lord, please relieve me. There's nothing wrong with it. But the exalted position of Bhishma Dev, it reminds me of Rahugana, the story of the conversation between King Rahugana and Jadabharat. When Rahugana was trying to put the load on him, asking to lift the palanquin, and he was disturbed. Rahugana was disturbed. But Bharat Maharaj was not disturbed. Rahugana was disturbed because he was not caring. He said he started yelling and chastising. He said, I'm going to beat you. And interestingly, Bharat Maharaj is saying, who will you do? What will you do? This work is done by the body. So from these incidents, we can see that how Krishna consciousness elevates people, literally transcends people from all these 3 modes. That's why when one is transcended to all these modes, one does not aspire for liberation. Liberation means what? Freeing. Please get me free from all these troubles. I don't want it. Rather, they develop higher taste. They develop higher taste that these inconveniences are literally immaterial for them. Now look at the practical situations, scenarios during Prabhupada's time, or now also. When we look into the lives of many devotees, they take so much of inconveniences actually. Otherwise, how Krishna conscious movement is running? Nobody's, hardly, temples are not paying any salary. But devotees are working left and right by taking so much of inconvenience, so much of stress, both physical and mental stress they are taking. Now, question is for whom? Whom they're working for? I would ask this question to all of you. Whom they're working for? Devotees working very hard, taking inconveniences.
We are hoping we are working for Krishna.
No, you are working for Krishna.
Yeah. But I think at least I'm still at the stage where I'm saying, please relieve me from this stress. So, but yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Who are we?
Prabhuji, as per my understanding, we are personally for me, I'm working for myself. I'm not to get purified because as Bhagavatam says, so much contamination is there in this body, And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, so we are doing all Sankirtana for the purification of our heart. So
thank you for genuine. Thank you for revealing your heart. Thank you. Yeah, it can be, because we all will be different levels. But at the end of the day, even though we have some interest for liberation or for our own goodness, but we know that we are doing for pleasure of Krishna, right? Bhoktaram yagyatapsam sarvalokam maheswaram. We know that we are working for Krishna. And devotees are convinced, and they're taking risk in many ways. They give hard-earned money, they clean the temple, they cook, they give for books. They take so much of risk. Nowadays, taking care of your own family, it's become so difficult. Now you have to take care of the family, you have to take care of yourself, you have to take care of the community, you have to take care of the world. So point is, devotees are taking so much of inconveniences for the Lord's pleasure. So in that sense, the Lord also reciprocates accordingly. He is constantly observing how my devotees are doing selfless service for me. So there's a reciprocation. In the Lord thinks, wow, my devotees doing for me. The Lord also reciprocates in the heart, so that even though inconveniences are there, still we derive this transcendental pleasure to continue that service. Otherwise, we could have given it up. So in one sense, we can understand that devotional service is devotees are intoxicated with bliss. Just like ordinary mundane person, they work so hard labor they do, however, and to give some pleasure to their family members. And devotees also they do. That's why the relationship between the Lord and devotees are very confidential. Why? External situations, one may not understand what one is going through. One may have beard is growing, one may look crying, one may working hard, one may be diseased, one may feel like suffering. But within the heart, there's only two. There's only two people. Who? As Lord says, I and my devotee. So here we can see, with that condition of Bhishma Dev, the external situation, whatever it is, Bhishma Dev is deriving transcendental pleasure by remembering the Lord. Remembering all these incidents happened. He could memorize during the Mahabharata war itself. He said, how sweet, wonderful moment. And the Lord was sweating and I pierced my arrow. And that is chivalry, because there's relationship, devotional service is a relationship, right? We know that Rupa Goswami explains there are 5 kinds of relationship. Principal relationships, which is friendship, dasya, saksha, vatsalya, madhurya, and santa. But the other relationships also there, and where the devotees derive that kind of pleasure, especially chivalry. And Bhishma Dev has that kind of relationship with Lord Krishna. That's why he was playing with him. He's playing with him and with throwing arrows, and the Lord is enjoying. The Lord is enjoying. So this is the intimate relationship of between the Lord and devotees. Can be understood only by practice of bhakti, by mercy. Machita matyata prana bodhayanta parasparam. And once we develop the taste for hearing and about the Lord, what happens? It inspires in our heart. It gives joy in our heart, and we want to hear more and more. Of course, I don't have the taste, but we can see that great persons. Parikshit Maharaj could sit for 7 days constantly to hear about Lord Krishna's pastimes. Prabhupada said our devotees are not interested in unnecessary literatures. They're interested in to learn more and more about the activities of the Lord. So Bhishma Dev is remembering this incident today, that look, how when my sweet Lord, he removed Arjuna from ignorance during the battlefield before the war. Arjuna apparently, seemingly, he felt like he's in ignorance. He did not wanted to kill anybody. He didn't wanted to do this fight. But the Lord is so kind. He guided him. He enlightened him in transcendental knowledge. So what is this? This is the subject matter for meditation for the devotees. He's not focusing on the details of the dasa. Rather, he's seeing the activity of the Lord. And he's seeing the activity of the Lord in each and every situation. The Bhagavad Gita says that Esa Brahmi Sthiti Partha Nainam Prapya Muhyati Sthitva Syamanta Kalepi Brahma Nirvana Muchati. So the path of bhakti, which is taught by Lord Krishna, will put one in such a situation that one can very easily transcend from the effects of these three modes. We are transcending gradually. We may not realize that, but it is true. Our perception, our tolerance changes day by day. So as the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, last verse, it says that this is the way of spiritual and godly life, after attaining which a man is not bewildered. If one is thus situated, even at the hour of death, one can enter into the kingdom of God. So Bhakti Prabhupada has given us this wonderful science, where gradually one can come and free oneself from this threefold miseries of this world. Even if at the time of death, one will not be disturbed. Here is Bhishma Devi is the example. I'll quote one statement from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, where Rupa Goswami explains that, well, how can we attain this stage? What Bhishma Dev has attained, what other personalities has attained. He says that in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Rupa Goswami says that by the process of executing regulated devotional service, one is actually elevated to the transcendental stage, beyond the material modes of nature. So bhakti is the process. And we all know what is the bhakti, definition of bhakti. Anya vilasita sunyam jnana karmadhyanibutam. Without any aspiration, pure bhakti, devotional service you render. What happens? It'll give you two things. Klesa Agni, which is Klesa Agni means first is it frees us from all kind of pains, both gross and subtle. Frees Klesa Agni, and what is the other one? Anyone remembers? Subhada brings all auspiciousness. Two things: removes our pains and pleasures, miseries of life, and the second thing is it also gives a transcendental pleasure. Brings auspiciousness. It brings auspiciousness. So by bhakti, we can transcend. At that time, one's heart becomes illuminated like the sun. The sun is far above the planetary systems, and there is no possibility of its being covered by any kind of cloud. Similarly, when a devotee is purified like the sun, from his pure heart, there's a diffusion of ecstatic love, and which is more glorious than the sunshine. This is the situation a devotee will attain by the practice of devotional service. He says the sun is very far above the planetary system. So there's no possibility of being covered by any kind of cloud. So just the sun is transcending. So similarly, the devotees will transcend from the three modes. Only at that time is the attachment to Krishna is perfect. Spontaneously, the devotee becomes eager to serve Lord in his ecstatic love. At this stage, the devotee is on the platform of Uttama Adhikari, perfect devotion. Such a devotee has no agitation from material affections and is interested only in the service of Radha and Krishna. So Bhishma Dev is, example here we can see that he is free from the pains and pleasures of this world, is constantly meditating on the lotus feet of Krishna. And now to clarify this, the symptoms of devotional service were explained with instructions as to how we may execute devotional service with our present senses and gradually rise to the platform of ecstasy in spontaneous love. So there are two kinds of devotional service mentioned. One is regulatory principles, and the other one is spontaneous love. And spontaneous love is called Raganuga. We can say Raganuga. Within the stage of regulatory principles of devotional service, there are two divisions, which is executive and affective. This affective portion of devotional service is called bhava or ecstasy. Now we can see that Bhishma Dev in ecstasy, definitely in ecstasy, because tears is flowing. The tears are not flowing because of his pains or because he's going to die. Tears is flowing because of his constant remembrance of the transcendental nature of the Lord, transcendental activities of the Lord. So the affective portion of the devotional service is called bhava, ecstasy. So in this connection, there's a statement in the Tantras that ecstasy is the first symptom of pure devotional, pure love of personality of Godhead. And in that stage, one is sometimes found shedding tears or shivering. Not always are these symptoms manifest, but occasionally. When King Ambarish was put into difficulty by Durvasa, he began to think of the lotus feet of the Lord, and thus there were some changes in the body. We remember when Ambarish Maharaj was also in a difficult situation. So he remembered the Lord, and because of that, the tears came from his eyes. And one should not think those tears are because of the fearfulness. Oh Lord, please protect me. But he's remembering of the Lord because he took shelter of the Lord naturally. So when King Ambarish was put into difficulty by Durvasa, he began to think of the lotus feet of the Lord, and thus there were some changes in his body and tears were falling from his eyes. These symptoms are activities of ecstasy, and they are visible in the shivering of the body and shedding of tears. And after the outward appearance of these ecstatic symptoms, they stay within the mind, and continuation of the ecstasy is called samadhi. They constantly remember those things. And this stage of appreciation becomes the cause of future exchange of loving affairs with Krishna. Right? So with this, it says that how we will elevate to this stage. Prabhupada gave the whole process very sincerely. Without adulteration, we can practice and will certainly attain this. In summary, elevation to this stage of ecstasy can be possible in two ways. One is, and one way is by constant association with pure devotees. And the other way is by the special mercy of Krishna. So Prabhupada says that, mercy of Krishna or the great personalities is rare. We cannot just think that, oh, we'll just wait for mercy of Krishna without our endeavor. So elevation to the ecstatic stage of life is generally attained through association with pure devotees, while elevation to the stage by the special mercy of Krishna or his devotees is very rare. So the whole Krishna conscious movement is promising in the sense that it is helping us to free from the klesagni difficulties. At the same time, helping us transcending these modes, three modes, now and in future. So irrespective of whatever the situation we are, our attention, our attraction, our inspiration to render devotional service should continue. So Bhishma Dev is meditating all these wonderful transcendental activities of the Lord, even though in the worst situation, which is in deathbed, at the same time with so much of pain, the bodily pain supposed to be, still he has transcended above all this. So may we pray at the lotus feet of the Vaishnavas that, one day, we'll develop such kind of tolerance and develop taste for devotional service, irrespective of whatever the external situations we may have or we will go through. So at this time, I'd like to open for comments. I didn't see who all are there actually. So please feel free to correct me and comment on this subject. Hare Krishna. I would like to hear from all of you. Let me share the screen. Please feel free to correct. No, I have everybody. Ram Shyam Prabhu, Dhanacharya Prabhu, Archana Bhakti Mataji, Atul Harinam Prabhu, Harichandra Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't.
Thank you very much for a nice class. And you said at the end of the class, like tolerance, we have to develop. That's very important because many people cannot tolerate so many things in this world, and all the fight start with that, all the misunderstanding it starts with that, So tolerance is very great character of the devotees, and we should have the tolerance for those things, which we even don't like, but still we have to tolerate it. And our main thing to go on our bhakti, holding the rope tight of bhakti and have the goal, that's most important thing actually. So that's what I want to say. Thank you very much. Haribol.
Very nice point you made. Yeah, very nice point you made, which I have been working for years. So it's a really, because Vyavasayatmika Buddhi has to be there. When we are not clear on the process and the goal in the sense that destination, what is going to give, then we may not tolerate. But once we know this is such a promising society, everyone needs the Krishna consciousness. Everyone needs. And while practicing bhakti, also there are inconveniences and among each other, but there has to be tolerance. Somebody, yeah. So Dhanacharya Prabhu saying he's in train, he cannot say anything. But thank you, Dhanacharya Prabhu. Somebody else raised hand. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, Golokanand Mataji. Yeah, Golokanand Mataji.
Yes. Yeah, I heard that Krishna took all the pain of Bhismadev. He was not feeling any pain. So just and also another point I want to make, like devotees sacrifice a lot to the devotional service. So one example I saw the other day, like real example, I say even devotees who have a job outside still are taking a lot of responsibility for Krishna. Like the other day I saw Sita and Dronacharya Prabhu. There was an incident happened. It was very depressing incident, and they were there for a long time trying to solve the problem and thinking they have so much responsibilities. They have children, they have a full-time job, and still they're taking so much trouble just to serve Krishna. So, I'm really feeling very appreciative in my heart. I say, have devotee are really, they just want to please Guru and Krishna.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji, for your observation and sharing. That's true. In this world, nothing comes very easily. It comes with so much of efforts, and devotees are very, very rare. Devotees are very less. Only scarcity in this world is Krishna consciousness. And there's just so much opportunity we have. It's not very easy to, sustain a community, but with cooperation and good understanding, inspiration, we really can do. Thank you for your observation and comment on that. Yes, we are very grateful for them. Kalpesh and Kalpesh Prabhu and Sonia Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So thank you for this class and really good information. So first of all, I wanted to clarify my terminology of transcendental knowledge. I see that is a platform. It's a platform, not due to the object, circumstances, or situation driven. That is how I see it, the transcendental, which is beyond the objects. So, so the question is, having that eradicated of this ignorance and approaching towards transcendental knowledge and sitting on that platform, are you saying that it is free from the karmic memories? And if so, how one would do the duties in this world, in the sitting in the platform of transcendental knowledge, which is what I see it, which is free from the objects, circumstances, relationships, or situations, all those events of the lives. So what is the appropriate way to be free from the karmic memory and going to the transcendental knowledge? And what are those duties which are applicable for this daily life of the implementation? Hare Krishna.
Very nice. Thank you for asking such a practical question. So there are two things you mentioned here. One is transcendental knowledge. The transcendental knowledge is the knowledge which helps you to transcend. And what is the meaning of that? So basically, everything in this material world is, in the three modes, combination of three modes: Rajagun, Tamagun, and Sattvagun. And this material world has its own nature, and we cannot change that nature. That's why Bhagavad Gita tells us, you go above to these modes. And how you can go above is basically you transcend above these three modes. How can you do is by association with the transcendence, and that is Krishna. Anything in spiritual related with Krishna is transcendence. So by coming in contact of mundane song, it is material. But when we come in contact with the transcendental sound, which is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, we are associating with transcendental sound. So at least I just want to make it clear that we know the difference between three modes and transcendence. The transcendence is called Dibya. In Sanskrit, it's called Dibya. And because we are spirit soul, we are Dibya. Our body is matter, material platform, but we are encased in this. That's why we are suffering. So how we can transcend? Now your second question is that, well, how can we do that? Living in this material world, I'm working, I have a meeting, I have a family, I'm a citizen, I'm in the battlefield and I'm fighting. How can you do that? So I can answer with one incident where Rupa Goswami wrote letter to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Rupa Goswami was a big responsibility he had. He was a prime minister of Navahoshensha's government. There's so much of duties. It's not easy to become to take that position. So Rupa Goswami, when he wrote to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that he desired, I want to come. I want to take your association. I want to give up. So Rupa Goswami's view was that, at the beginning, how is it possible for me to practice about transcend without being with the Lord? So Lord Chaitanya gave a very nice, beautiful instruction. He said that just as a lady who is married, who was given the heart to another person, but still she works in such a way that there is no disturbance in the family, in the sense that she does all her work in properly serving husband, children, everything, so no one doubts. So similarly, in our day-to-day life, in office, we are busy, we are working with the projects, we have so much of tension, what to do. But remember this, that all our work we are doing for our children and for our family, there's deep love for them we have in our heart, because we are giving the results of that work to our family. So there's a deep love or attachment we have for our family. So similarly, Krishna is saying that, do as an attachment to me. And how can we do that? So basically, you continue your responsibility in this material world. As long as you have this material body, you have to live with it. However, use these material conditions to help you transcend above to three modes. It's interesting, using same material situations given to you. Example, this body. This body is, is asat, temporary. It's just a place of misery. But still, we can use this body to help ourselves transcend by proper practice and association. And this practice can be possible by superior guidance of the senior Vaishnavas and a spiritual master. How to live with it like this? So your question is, yes, at the beginning it may sound difficult, but we can begin with, let's begin with my chanting 10 minutes, Hare Krishna Mahamantra, or half an hour, or 2 hours, whatever. At least begin the journey of transcending. Does it make sense, Kalpesh? Or no?
Yeah, it kind of makes sense. But my question was more like how to be free from the karmic memory, because
karmic memory,
because it's like a residual sitting. It's like a brick and mortar sticking to each other. Like Atma is a brick, and a mortar, like a cement, is that bondage of karma. And that is always residual, but not getting identified with it, and not getting like a sink and dancing on that platform of cement. And you like it is like an analogy of sand, like a sand dripping off from that small hole, and you kind of identified with it, and you just flow with that flow. Rather than you can dance on that platform and stay free from the karmic memory. In that how do one get to that stage, and what are those duties?
It's not very easy, but it's at the same time Krishna gave such process that, by providing a substitute. If you keep there's a saying that idle mind is devil's workplace, right? If you're saying karmic memory means if you let your mind roam, think about it, unnecessarily brought something in your mind, that he's my friend, he's my enemy, he's my friend, he's my enemy. It'll constantly will come. So what we need to do is, in the positive attitude, is engaging the mind with proper practice. So what will happen? Mind will develop, will be occupied with that transcendental activities of the Lord. That's why at the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, Narad Muni is explaining to Vyasdev. He says that you wrote all these books. So many books. You're actually creating a bad situation, worsening the situation. They're already addicted to materialism, and now you're giving all this facility to become more and more materialistic. It's more and more disturbance to the mind. So what did you do? Give them the narrations of the activities of the transcendental activities of the Lord. So the solution is, here, just like you're hearing now, our endeavor to remove those karmic thinking, rather engaging that moment and thinking of Krishna. Okay. Now, once class is over, we may not be together, so we can chant our rounds together. And when we go to work, doesn't mean that we'll be constantly thinking of Bhagavatam class. It will remain as dormant in our heart, but we have to focus on the work. So whatever the results comes, offer as a sacrifice to Krishna. So it works. The point is, the karmic in front of the Lord's transcendental name and fame, the karmic reactions are very insignificant. Lord can relieve us very quickly. Kshipram bhavati dharmatma. Lord Krishna says that this bhakti can relieve you instantly. That's the power of bhakti. So medicine is more powerful than disease. We have to practice properly. Medicine is more powerful than disease. There is no disease in this universe which cannot be cured, which is more powerful than the devotional service of the Lord's holy name. So that faith, if you practice, one day you are also in the same phase as you were in that before, and at least we have seen some progress in our lives.
Correct. Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yes, yeah. It's 8:51. I want to thank everyone, unless anyone has more comments, corrections. So,
Hare Krishna. So just wanted to comment this, not question. So like the last sentence of this translation, I was just going through carefully. So it looks to be very significant. I liked much on that. May his lotus feet always remain in the object of my attraction. Like when we meet to the senior devotees, and the Guru Vargas, so they also say bless like Krishna Matirasta. So similar to that, like Vaishnava Pitama is also saying that the his lotus feet always remain in the object of my attraction. So and that is the whole essence. Like if whatever we do, whatever we offer, whatever we do, so that should be offered to Krishna, and that whatever activity we do, if it is attracting to Krishna, that means whatever endeavor we are doing, that is pleasing to Krishna.
Very nice.
That's the thing. So just I wanted to mention, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much. Very nice. One comment on that is, that's why it's not possible to remember the lotus feet of Krishna also. That's why I say that practice with chanting from nama, from name, what will come automatically, the form will come for meditation eventually, due course of time. But great point. Thank you so much. So
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Thank you very much, Prabhu, for a nice class. And like you said, Bhishmadeva was always asking that I want to remember you. Lotus means your beautiful face and the way of your garments and the way of your what is that? All these things, I may not desire fruitive results and all these things. Please help me at the end of my last days, including that lotus feet also. Like you're saying, whenever I want to chant, we want to see the picture of these deities every day it comes from the temple. First, I want to see the lotus feet. And I want to concentrate on that. And when I'm chanting, everywhere from California, from here, all the pictures will come. All the lotus feet only, I just concentrate. And like Bhishmadeva was saying, all these things, he wants to remember all that, and he doesn't want any fruitive results or anything. And with all that pain, and when he saw him, he forgot everything. His glance also. Krishna's glance is enough.
Yes.
So we just concentrate on that meditation and then chanting. That's all.
Haribo, thank you so much for sharing your realizations. So we can, very grateful. Thank you. Pancha kalpatarivascha
Thank you.
Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Granthras Bhagavatam ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.